Hi, I'm Corey Bellino. This is my proposal pitch. It's called Last Night. This is a little mood board I put together that gave me inspiration for my idea. Cool. Right, so my idea is a roguelike / RPG based game based around the knight, who's like meant to be like the last combatant left among like a really small amount of human survivors. And basically the whole point of the game is to venture out of this like camp lobby base where you'll be able to sell items and buy items, go kill enemies, collect gold, sell, and infinitely upgrade your stats like attack speed, health, and damage. With like obviously you're able to collect multiple different weapons and upgrade your armor infinitely as well. Yeah. So this is my skills. So my skills mainly kind of come from, if you can see by the stars, like mainly animation, texturing. I'm decent at UI, however my ambition mainly lies within 3D modelling and texturing. I am pretty good at 3D modelling, however there's a lot more I can learn. It's a software, like especially Maya, that has a lot to develop. And I want to take it towards university and then further into industry. I want to go into 3D character art. And I believe that this project, out of all my ideas and out of all the ideas I could generate, gives me the most amount of time and potential to go on to industry, as there's enemy characters I can model, player characters I can model, and NPCs that I can model. So within this project, I think I've got the most potential to develop and improve my skills towards university, where then I'll be able to select modules that allow me to specify and develop my character modeling. Oops. Yeah, I said forwards, thank you. So, is this project feasible? Obviously, the first thing you kind of think when someone says roguelike RPG game is, oh no, they're going to fail the project because, you know, it's not a feasible idea. Which is understandable. However, I'm going to use these 4 things. These are my, these are my 4 favourite things when it comes to time management, including time management itself. Action plan, schedule, extra work, and obviously time management. With all 3 of these, I've got to make sure I keep an eye on them. I'm sticking to my action plan, I'm sticking to my schedule, and I'm doing as much extra work in my spare time as I can. It's a big project, it's going to need a lot of focus, but more importantly than those 4 things is my contingency plans, right? So to start with, obviously some of these things I probably will start with not intending to put in, so I'll work from the bottom going upwards to make sure I have, you know, like a complete lobby or whatever before I add more stuff to it. So if we start here, I will start to remove extra features like multiple weapons. I'll start to remove different enemy types. I could even remove the whole selling and buying feature altogether, as it's not completely necessary. It just adds depth and more, you know, personalizations to my game. Then finally, if all that doesn't work, I've completely failed my time management, I'm an awful student, then I can move on to this, which is where I just make the lobby and I only do like attack dummies and like level and experience in there, which is something one of my teachers also did suggest, to start there and work my way up, which is what I think I'll do. So if, you know, all else fails, then that is it. But just to prove that I'm actually already kind of on track, I've got some production slides here. So I've gone for a low poly art style because it's simple and I can get a lot done with it. My workflow is really well, I've done it in previous projects. I love 3D code, I'm good at it. So here's my 3 current weapon designs, starting from worst to best. Obviously the one at the far right's got to have more, you know, shine to it, because you're going to want the player to have the better weapon. The better looking it is, the more likely they are to want it. Here's more production so far. I've got movement, I've got item pickups working, as you can see in bottom right. Here's a house I modelled before. Here's my character that I've developed. And if I go one more forwards, this is everything I have up to this point so far. Week 3 of production, well, week 3 of the whole project. Basic UI buttons that I've modelled. As you can see, basic UI working. I've made the houses, the models, the anvils. The textures are from a pack that I'm using. For grass, it's a placeholder at the moment, but everything else I made myself. The UI I made, as you can see, I can pick up weapons, switch between them, swing them. I can move, I can jump. There's an anvil I modelled as well. So far, I reckon, so good. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty ahead of this. Almost got the lobby already done and completed. So I'm pretty happy with where I am in this project so far. Moving on to research. Slow down a little bit. For my research, I plan on going through a variety of multiple different things, starting from documentaries, games, books, news, websites, etc. I've got to make sure I talk about mise-en-scène, mechanics, audio, using keywords like soft, hard mechanics, parallel audio, audio bridges, to make sure I get the best out of my grade and the best out of, you know, my ability. Moving on to my evaluation, I'm doing all my work inside of PowerPoint. This is because I struggle with creativity in images, and I think if I do it with inside of PowerPoint, I'll be able to add more images and more creativity, compared to things like Word, where it's a lot harder to, you know, get that kind of creative side out of you. Same with like things like Microsoft Sway, they have a lot of potential, but I've only ever used it once, and I just feel more comfortable in PowerPoint. In terms of actually the evaluation itself, I want to do some audio logs, but most of it will be written, as I've done all my previous evaluations written, and I don't want to lose unnecessary marks because I'm not experienced with audio evaluation. However, I do want to mix it up and, you know, keep it fresh and maybe do 1 or 2 audio logs on evaluation. Yeah, and that is my pitch. Any questions?
Sweet, that was very fast. Yeah, how are you going to assess the progress of the actual game in terms of like functionality? Like, what steps are you going to take to make sure the game's on track there?
So I think I did briefly mention it in the evaluation somewhere. I talked about, where is it? Well, maybe I didn't put it in here, but I'm going to keep logs, so development logs, so that in time management as well, I should have mentioned, I'm going to keep every time something does go out of my schedule or out of, like, you know, my time boundaries, I will put it towards, so for example in Easter half term, I'm going to dedicate a week to catch up. And in the next half term before deadline, that week will also be for catch up. So for anything that I do miss, which hopefully I can, you know, properly limit down what I am missing, I will put straight into the catch up weeks and get that done and then back on track. So each Easter holiday will be for me like a, you know, kind of re-catching up with everything I've missed.
Okay. Yeah, I was. that's also fine. I recommend. I was hoping. I think playtest as well. That peer feedback, I think, would be a big thing. Could you just talk me through? Because obviously this is a very ambitious game. You said it in the pitch yourself. What am I expecting? What are you expecting to have in the vertical slice? Like in terms of quantity of stuff, what's actually going to get put into that?
What, in the game?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go back to the video right now while I'm explaining this. So obviously this UI will be all done and dusted. So this right now, when I click start, this is my lobby area. I want 1 or 2 more buildings here. There'll be fenced off areas. It'll look like a proper, like, kind of gated off area.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the story is that they're hiding from loads of monsters because the world's been overrun and there's not many survivors left. I'm planning on having about 10 to 15 different weapons. They're not hard to make. I made 3 in about an hour and a half. Definitely feasible. I've made it modular, so that I've done it with enums and scriptable objects, so that I can literally just create a weapon class, add damage range and thingy, and infinitely access it depending on the weapon I pick up, so there's literally 0 time waste there. So that's all feasible, that's all doable. Same with like the areas I'll be doing enemies pretty modular as well. I'll make 1 script and I'll be able to use that script on all my enemies. I've already made an enemy model. I didn't show it in my presentation, but I have already made that. So in terms of like what I'll have in, I will be able to sell items. There'll be obviously a lot more scripting I have to do, a lot more polishing, finishing touches, bug fixes. But actually, as I stand, I think I'm still about, you know, like 10 to 15% the way through my project already.
Okay, just be mindful. The stage really is all about testing, developing what's going to go into the actual game, rather than making the actual game itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said so it's like the hub area. And you say so I lost track. There was a lot in there. So is that you're gonna have like 3 basic areas, is that you said with this?
So obviously I said that I wanted to have multiple areas. However,
Yeah.
I'm mindful that the project's ambitious.
Yeah.
So, but for my obviously this is a prototype. This is like probably not what it's going to look like when I'm done with it. But the mechanics will probably be pretty similar. But I want 2 areas: lobby and 1 area where you can go fight enemies. I wanted, obviously, the finished idea would have been to have 3 areas where you can go kill enemies. That is way too ambitious. I doubt I'll be able to get that done. And if, you know, I do manage to get this first area done, everything's polished, UI's done, audio's done, settings are done, then yeah, sure, why not? So.
Sure. I mean, you are doing it as, like I say, a vertical slice, so you could have small sections that represent different parts of what would be the game as well, just to give us an idea of it. And what specifically, what research are you planning to gather for this? You went through it quite quick. What research you are doing?
Yeah, that's my bad. Right, so for example, for the games, for these 2 in particular, I've already began my texture analyses on these. So I'm talking about with this, combat mechanics.
Yeah.
So a big part of my game will be combat. Every roguelike game, you know, the convention, really big convention for roguelike games and RPG games is the combat. If you look at games like Skyrim, their combat's really simple. It's based on stats. If you've got good attack damage, you'll win the fight. There's not much dodges. The block's really weak. But if you look at Elden Ring, that whole combat's based around skills. It's about dodging, time blocks. It's about moving the right directions. So you get more abilities, more different types of weapons. It's a strategic-based combat compared to this one, which is stat-based combat. So what I'm doing is analysing both those games and deciding what would fit better in my game. To what extent do I want to be stat-based, and to what extent do I want to be skill-based? Depending on also target audience, because older target audience, younger target audience. That's between.
And who's your target audience?
My target audience is between 16 and 18, which is closer to Elden Ring. However, my art style is also low poly to kind of justify. Obviously, because my target audience starts at 16 and they can't play games like Elden Ring as they're 18, PEGI 18 or above. So I've got to keep in mind that if I'm going for a game with similar combat to Elden Ring, I've got to lower the poly of the art style, make it look really cartoony.
Sure. Well, have you considered looking at maybe, say, like Majora's Mask to go with that, and just to give you that more aesthetic?
Zelda game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or equivalent, one of the early Elder Scrolls games like Morrowind, for example. Well, your game looks better than Morrowind. I always thought that game looked terrible. So far, your game's looking quite nice, actually. It might be worth thinking about nostalgia as well, like sell it, market it as a nostalgic game, and maybe brand it, because part of your FMP is going to be social media. Have you considered maybe doing it as like a homebrew PS2 game rather than just trying to do it as a
modern game? Yeah.
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 That would solve a few things. It gives you a target audience, and you can retro. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a functional version now, PlayStation 1 version of Bloodborne.
Bloodborne.
Yeah.
PlayStation 1.
Yeah. They've got up. It goes all the way up to Father Gascoigne now. They've added him in it, so they keep adding a bit each time. So might be worth having a look at that and maybe do it that style. Again, your game looks better than PlayStation 1, but I think if you was to present it as like a Dreamcast RPG or PlayStation 2, I think it's about where it needs to be.
Right.
Cool. Okay, I'm happy with the pitch. I'm happy with the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and start the camera.